I'm now joined by Laura Blumenfeld, former senior policy advisor on the US State Department's Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team and now a senior fellow at Johns Hopkins University. Laura, lovely to have you on. Thank you for joining me. First of all, a Hamas delegation is in Cairo for talks with Qatar and Egypt on the Gaza ceasefire, and mediators appear to have succeeded in salvaging the hostage release on Saturday. Laura, is this a positive signal that the deal is now possibly back on track?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ceasefire ship has been steadied. It was only after Trump threatened to blow it out of the water. But what President Trump managed to do this week was something that, the previous president would have loved to take credit for, which is he got Israel and Hamas on the same page. They are literally in the same ship right now, the Israelis and Hamas, because both of them want to see their people let free, whether it's Israelis who are being held hostage or Palestinians who are prisoners in Israel. So they both have something to gain. And when President Trump raised the stakes like that, I think both of them at the same time said, whoa, steady.
There appears to be a little bit of confusion clouding the ceasefire deal, however, with both Israel and Hamas blaming each other for violating the agreement. What will mediators be working on behind the scenes right now?
Well, I think that they were sort of minor breaks relatively and not a material breach. The truth is, again, Hamas is feeling incredible pressure. Gaza is in rubble right now. Gaza is gone. But releasing those prisoners was one of the major goals of Al-Aqsa flood starting on October 7th. This is something tangible that they can deliver. And the same thing for the Israelis. I mean, there will be no sort of looking forward or beyond October 7th until they bring their people home. There's tremendous domestic pressure on Netanyahu. The ceasefire is popular. So I think that those mediators, it's fascinating, I think, that Egypt and Qatar now are sort of considered the moderating voices. In the past, in the previous administration, it might have been Biden with his byword. He would always say, de-escalate, de-escalate. Now we have a president of the United States who's all for escalation. It's a totally different way of going about it, but as long as we can get to that hostage release and prisoner release, things are on track. The one thing I am concerned about, though, what we missed the opportunity for this week with all the drama and fog surrounding Saturday's release is we didn't start negotiating the second phase. And that's really what's going to bring about the end of war and looking forward to a better tomorrow.
Yes, I was going to actually ask you about the second phase and where we could possibly see that going. Any ideas?
Well, it's just fascinating with this new U.S. president. He's injecting a whole different, substance into the talks. He likes outrage. And I'm not sure when you mix that into the Middle East kettle, what we're going to come up with. But he is impatient. He's radiating impatience, and he's trying to sort of compress the hostage release. Netanyahu would like to see an extension of phase one to get more hostages out. So they're both, coming at it with different approaches. Ultimately, though, it's up to Hamas. They hold the keys.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was prepared to resume intense fighting this weekend if the hostages weren't returned. As you did say, Hamas, that's what they're dealing with at the moment. But Gaza is in rubble. Do you think Netanyahu is gaining confidence amid Donald Trump's backing and all these threats that we've been talking about?
Yeah, confidence is definitely the word of the week. Certainly, when Donald Trump was asked why he's sort of a different kind of president than he was last time, he used that exact word. He said confidence. I think we have to be careful, though, with Netanyahu of overconfidence, of overplaying your hand, because at the end of the day, he needs to bring his people back. I remember when I worked at the State Department, one of our talking points was the status quo is unsustainable. We were talking under President Obama about a two-state solution to both Palestinians and Israelis. I think today that talking point is no longer just empty rhetoric. It really is unsustainable. And hopefully that kind of urgency will put things on track all the way.
So do you think a two-state solution is still actually possible, Laura?
Well, I didn't mean to jump ahead, sort of to the end game here. It's clear that With President Trump talking, he calls it an out of the box idea. Others say it's out of your mind. Again, what he's managed to do is unite the Arab world in rejecting that idea, which I think is fine as long as it keeps this sort of conversation going and spurs more creative ideas. We already have a summit scheduled between the Egyptians and the Jordanians, and Saudi Arabia is going to play a key role here because there are kings in President Trump's mind, and then there are kings, all caps. And for him, I think Saudi Arabia is really the all cap kings. I see there's kind of a deference he has toward the Saudis. They share a lot of the same goals and even worldviews. It's about nationalism and techno-optimism. They see AI as a solution for economic problems. And for both of those leaderships, it's really all about the economy. There's Vision 2030 for Saudi Arabia, and for Donald Trump, it's Make America Great Again.
Laura Blumenfeld, former senior policy advisor on the US State Department's Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your insights.
Thank you.